Hello there everyone, how you doing? I'm Arm and welcome back to a little bit of an art video actually. Yep, I'm finally back to actually doing them, and the last little bit I've actually been stalling on them because I've been working on the channel Mascot. I really need to redo the profile picture for the channel and everything, and when I actually started this I realized that I didn't know how to draw birds, so I actually had to go off and study owls specifically, and I've got a ton of ground to cover in this video, so let's just hop into it. All right, here's my reference sheet. Here's all the characters and owls I'm working from. My two options when I started this were Northern Screech Owl and a Barn Owl, which I love. And I did decide to go more Barn Owl, even though this thing is so fucking cute, man. But other than that, I have all of my attempts to kind of figure out the shaping and everything of it. Owls are weird, and I don't think they're from this planet, but it's... I have to get in and do the silhouette. That's going to be one of the most important things I need to tackle first before I do anything else, before I even start drawing the actual one. Silhouette and character design is extremely important. All right, so we're doing like a barn owl, right? So let's just rough in like a little bit of an owl. Just a little guy owl. So I just want some basic shapes. I don't want anything too detailed. So if we do this, and we get into that apple-shaped face disc. I don't know if I want to do it in more of an apple shape, or if I want to like kind of shoehorn a heart in there some way. Both are possible to do, but I don't think that's important at the moment. Those wings should be way longer than that. He also kind of folds weirdly. Owls are an odd bird, let me tell you. I spent an inordinate amount of time recently drawing them, so unfortunately I would know. Don't ever, also, if you're gonna do anything like this, never look up an owl skull. Never look up an owl skeleton. There's some of the most mortifying shit you'll ever see. All right, so that beak is way too big. Owl beaks are actually really tiny, which is not a thing. You don't really pay much attention to the features of an owl or of a specific thing until you start drawing them. All right, so I'll get in some little chicken legs, and those do look way too big. I think we'll skip that like joint. I do want a slightly cartoony owl, even though I'm not much of a cartoonist, if I'm being completely honest. Even though I'm getting more and more where I like very cartoony art styles. I forced myself to learn very... I'm mostly a comic artist, and I kind of forced myself to learn the more like Marvel, DC kind of style, and I'm recently branching out of that. That claw is enormous. What am I doing? That's not in proportion at all. Proportions be damned, I swear. And there. Boop. I'm just gonna cover up that like fourth toe. And I don't need to get bogged down with the details. This is literally... I'm gonna have to draw this a lot. I'm gonna have to draw similar things a lot as we iterate on this, and that's... I mean, that is the biggest thing about character design. You're gonna be drawing a lot when you're doing them. And I love character designing. It is one of my biggest passions as far as art goes. Actually, you know what? I actually kind of like this body style. I'll do a few more. I'm not going to stop here. And I do want to do something that's objectively wrong, because that is usually a good determiner on where you're at, quite frankly, in the character design, or how you're thinking about it. It's a good barometer for things like that. Okay. Yes on the shape. But it's too boring. It's just an owl. It doesn't have much personality, and that's like one of the big things I'm really trying to do on this. I mean, this is going to be the mascot for the entire channel. Like, I need this to work. So I do have a name for it. I was going to make this a poll, but I found the perfect one. on a D&D subreddit. Some people are talking about naming their owling characters puns, and I just came across the name Alfred, and it's like that's it. That's the one. That's it. V1. Make this look a little bit more professional. I'm not gonna do a turnaround or anything like that in this video. I don't think that's necessary for like a profile picture. As I do more and more art of this character, maybe I actually branch out, but all right. How do we start giving this a bit more personality? I'm actually gonna draw the head again. See, do we want to do like full eyes? And I think I'll do more like Pokemon eyes. I do love them. Actually, barn owls have this like intensely blank stare to them that makes them very adorable. They look like they have little button eyes, but specifically Rowlet. If we're gonna do eyes like that, maybe we should channel it. Let's just do the objectively wrong thing first and work backwards. So straight up Rowlet eyes, then they could have a little bit more form than that, man. What am I doing? I don't need to be pedantic on this. Like, it's a reference sheet before I actually draw the thing. But I want to be pedantic about it. And tiny little beak. And I think some of it's actually going to be adding like little personality bits in like the beak, and I kind of want to add eyebrows. Like, this is cursed. This one actually looks a little cursed. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely the wrong eyes for this. I think I've actually done some. Hold on. Yeah, I've done these like expressive kind of Pokemon eyes before. Definitely the wrong eyes for the barn owl, but I guess we could start weaning away from that. We could just leave it blank. Kind of keep the eyes closed a bit, and maybe I kind of want to add eyebrows to it. Does that make sense? Face is not in proportion at all, but it gets the idea across. So I'm just gonna leave it. We could also have one of the... I'll do one eye open and one eye closed, just to see what it looks like. Okay, I think this is more of a matter of pose than it is character design. I do like this like style of eye, so I'm gonna keep it in mind. It's very old school Pokemon, like Gen 2, I think, use this a lot. Okay, but the shape itself, the silhouette and everything, is still just an owl. So now I know why people use great horned owls more often. The silhouette is more interesting. So how do we make this a little bit more interesting? And also personalize it to me specifically. Well, it's the arm owl, so I could just make a golden owl, and I'll probably use like more golden tones in it, but there's also this symbol for gold in alchemy, which arm just means gold. It's Latin for gold. What do we do if we simplify it? Like, that doesn't really look like much of anything. What if we made it kind of two solids kind of intersecting with each other? Make one of them just a little bit smaller. That could work, but it looks more like a nipple now, which is something I was trying to avoid. So if we draw it again, you could also just leave the space in there and kind of have it as negative space. Maybe if we actually, hold on, we could think of it as like a coin, kind of like Meowth. I'm having a little bit of a brainwave. You know how Meowth has that coin on its head because it's a lucky cat? What if we did something like that? All right, I'm gonna save myself a little bit of trouble and actually copy this over. That way I can keep everything in line, because I'm pretty happy with that body shape. It's gonna be more adding details and stuff I like later. We could add it like straight on the head. That's not really adding anything to the silhouette, is it? So, well, we have this like negative space here that we could be using. So let's try that. Okay. Well, this one specifically seems to be working a bit more on that because that scale is a little bit harder to get, even if it is more accurate. So going with that one, even though it looks more nipple-like, I'll have to figure out a way around that. And that does make this silhouette a little bit more unique. Maybe we actually make it a little bit bigger too. That way it really stands out. And add some depth to the side of it since it is a 3D object. And let's see. That's working, honestly. That is working for me a little bit. I think we're on to kind of a winner. I really can't figure out anything else. The only other idea I had was to take and add like feathers as hair, but that's kind of generic. This one feels a little bit more specific, and it actually adds in a little bit of like channel rep too, given the like symbol for gold. It still lacks a bit of personality though. What if we actually add in those eyebrows I was talking about earlier? Okay, that adds a bit of personality back to it. Even in this more like blank pose. All right, well, I've kind of messed around with a couple of these, and I tried something else, didn't like it, then came back to that one. And I think that is the design I'm going. I can't really. I've been sitting here trying to think of something else to add to it to make it a silhouette a little bit more interesting, but that's actually shockingly difficult with the specific bird we're working with. But I did end up making its face a little bit rounder, and I've come up with a different pattern that I like more for the little like spots on its chest area. So I've started doing them as scribbles. But honestly, I can't believe how fast I actually reined this in, honestly. But I need to do some thumbnailing, and then we can actually start on the profile picture itself. So time for a time lapse. Well, you know how I said I wasn't going to do a turnaround? Well, I actually ended up doing it. And I'm glad I ended up doing a turnaround too for a couple of reasons. One, I'm shit at drawing owls from the front. I have no idea how to do that. So it's something I have to go back and work with and hopefully redo the turnaround for Alfred a little bit better later on. Kind of organize my palette and other things, as you'll see in a little bit. Well, there's not much to say about the rest of the turnaround. I didn't even color in the second half of it, and it's only a partial turnaround. But this has been a hell of a project. This has taken me a lot longer than I thought. And it's the entire reason why I haven't posted any art videos like I said I was going to. But the turnaround for the front of it is very janky, and I don't know how it's that janky. It's just really janky. Owls just kind of look like penguins from the front. I can't stop drawing penguins, and it's been annoying the hell out of me. I'm very happy with this project, and as it goes on a little bit, I guess we'll talk a bit more about it, but I'm not much of a cartoonist, so I'm very happy with the way it ended up turning out. I actually am quite proud of this. I don't do a lot of cartooning. I'm mostly like a comic artist, but I do enjoy the process of cartooning, although, well, I don't really consider myself very good at it. And I have let myself get a bit more cartoony while still kind of sticking to the more typical art styles for comics. But I do in the future want to do a bunch of like studies of specific like art styles, like Hirohiko Araki. Junji Ito would be a really fun one, as well as what's the guy's name who did all the original Pokemon stuff? Kintsugi Mori. I love his art style. That's one I would really love to do a deep dive into. And not specifically the manga art style, but the anime art style for Soul Eater, I think could be a really fun one to do a deep dive in. Maybe I do like a fan art thing and do that as a video, because I'm going to be doing the study anyway. But I think that could be a fun one. Here I'm just kind of adding in all of the coloring and all the flatting. I'm trying to get the palette balanced the way I like it before I move on to doing the actual piece itself. And this is another reason why I'm very happy I ended up doing a turnaround, because I did not know 100% what I was going to do as a palette. I do like this very golden color I chose for the feathers and the contrasting brown. I ended up very much liking this like earth tone palette. I'm not 100% happy with the eyes, eye color and everything. I think I could have chosen a maybe better color for it. But barn owls do have those big like black eyes anyway, so I don't really think it matters that much. But I've got to do some more turnarounds like this. I find them very useful. They're not something I do too often, even when I'm actually doing character design. But I highly recommend them, even if they're a massive pain in the butt to do. And they are. Believe me, they are. I didn't end up 100% sticking with this palette. I think I did some tweaks and changed some things to get a little more balance in the colors, especially with the background colors and whatnot. And I did some absolutely awful rim lighting that I absolutely rushed and dislike heavily. Like, oh my god, do I dislike that? Here I'm starting on the next one, and I did like I said, I did partial turnaround. I did slide profile and straight on profile, trying to keep all the proportions correct with the heights kind of scale in the background and all of my measurements. And I did. I'm actually a little proud of myself. I did a decent job at it. It's not perfect, but it is pretty close. I did end up just painting it white and doing a little bit of shading before I moved on, and I kind of wish I actually had done some rings around the legs, because birds kind of have these like big scaly legs that are very interesting, especially owls. Then again, owls that don't make any sense. I believe they actually have fuzzy legs, if I'm remembering right, or at least some of them do. I believe barn owls do. I'm no ornithologist. Really not. I'm an idiot that's making YouTube videos, quite frankly. The thumbnailing process of this one was actually very quick. I found like a specific camera angle and a pose I was very happy with pretty fast. It didn't take too long to do. And I do like that big like wing up thing, even though I think I actually screwed it up. Spoilers for the actual drawing itself. I don't feel like it's 100% anatomically correct, but bird anatomy is bizarre, and I honestly have no idea what it does. Again, I honestly don't think birds or owls specifically are from this planet. They are so freaking weird. Casual Geographic did a very fascinating video. Here I'm having a bit of trouble drawing, and I wanted to do some like Art Nouveau stuff, and I abandoned all of this, so it doesn't matter. I would like to do another version of it. Maybe I'll redo them every year or so. But we're on to the actual drawing. It's pretty straightforward. Not much to say. I'll stop and stop talking and stop running my goddamn mouth at some point. But owls are weird. Owls are weird birds. They don't make a lot of sense. I think Casual Geographic did a fantastic video on owls if you really want to go down the rabbit hole like I did when I was doing my study. Fascinating birds, really. Like the face disc, one of their most defining features is for their hearing. I found that out recently. Or it aids in their hearing. Again, I'm no ornithologist. Because their ears are like slightly lopsided, or they're mismatched a little bit, so they can hear specifically very accurate or from specific directions, which is nuts. Absolutely nuts to think about. Here's what I'm talking about. It does look a little janky. I think it might be the camera angle specifically, and I didn't add in that secondary bone. Or there's nothing suggesting that secondary bone in the specific, like, tight close-up angle. But the inking to this was pretty straightforward. I actually go back over everything and do some thicker lines that I thought would just look better. Because it looked a little flat here, but... And I absolutely fiddled and waffled around with the feathers for so long. Like, because they'll overlap in a weird direction because of how their bones and wings are shaped. But I'm relatively happy with it. I still think the other wing looks a little janky. The other one is fine. I actually fucked up on the second wings, which you really can't see in this scale. But they're supposed to go the opposite direction since they're overlapping. But I screwed that one up. I will fix it, but while I'm doing a little bit of adjustments and kind of making the line art look a little bit nicer, and I believe I went back over everything and made it a little bit more chunky. I thought the chunky lines would make it look a little bit more cartoony. I do very fine lines myself normally, unless they're part of a shadow. But I did end up liking this. I really, like I said, I really do like this process. I did end up trying to add some like feathers and little bits of texture here. I feel like a lot of cartooning stuff gets a little bit flat, or this just might be my like my comic book drawing and everything. Everything looks flat and textureless, and it drives me nuts. A lot of this doesn't end up staying. I think some of the feathers on the outline and everything, those end up staying actually. I think that's the only thing that ended up staying. This is part of doing anything creative. You end up iterating a lot on whatever you're doing. I ended up changing the line color a few times while I was doing this as well, because I was going nuts. I don't like working with totally black line art. This is the thing that I do that I do not like, and ended up just changing it like several times. Now I'm starting to add in some of those colors, and I found hues of them that I really need to write down or save as a palette in itself, because those are like, I think they're perfect. Like, they're perfect for specifically this one. Those 4 colors are just perfect for Alfred. I love them. They're so pleasing. It did take a little bit of futzing around to get them, but because he's so cute, man. Like, he's so cute. Like, I had to brag on something I made because that's not in my personality at all, but I honestly think this burb is so adorable. I want a plushie of him so bad. Okay, and I'm starting on the background, or at least picking a background color. I don't know if that one stays or not. And starting on the shading. And let me tell you, this took a long time. I did and redid this so much, and I don't think this one is bad. I usually do like a map gradient. I don't use multiply layers because I don't like them. A lot of cartoonists do them. I don't personally like them. I just want to figure out and do like a very contrasting map on top of that to figure out where all the lighting and shading go. I really struggle a lot with shading, something I do generally feel not as confident with, especially cell shading. I used to go for a more painterly aesthetic like I do with the section I did in Turnaround. But I tried a couple different things and nothing really ended up sticking, and I went with a very simple cell shading that I ended up liking. I did try to do some more painterly stuff, and I just didn't like it. I ended up erasing it several times. But I'm also like this. I am such a perfectionist nut job that I will literally sit there and redo the same thing over and over to a maddening extent. I am, which always comes back to bite me, especially when I'm doing like I had to stop doing this in the Isaac videos because I would just do, it's like, not good enough, one more run, then we're done. Then I'll be exhausted for the next day and not have a voice because I've been recording for 3 hours. Okay, I did something different on this one, and that I'm starting from like the darkest part of it and kind of clipping back to, or trying to race back to try to do all the shadows that way. I like it. I like it a lot. I actually like this version of it quite a bit. It's so dramatic though. It is so unbelievably over dramatic. I love dramatic shading, but it doesn't work for like a cartoon. I tried out the multiply layer, and I know a lot of people like it, and I don't think it looks that bad. I just don't like the specific hue of the shadows. That is my big hang up on it. Basically takes the colors you're using and like multiplies and darkens them. I really don't know how it works. Probably why I don't like it too. But this was the shading. It's a frustrating experience. I actually ended up quitting on it for a little bit and started on the background. I love this background. I don't know, it's so simple. The one I ended up doing is so simple. It took a little bit of iterating to get to. I wanted to do like kind of the backs of the inscription cards. I tried it without a ruler once and it turned out awful. Like truly awful. Tried coloring them in, didn't like that. Also, they're very inconsistent, so I ended up scrapping that one. And it also just looks too fantasy. Tried to put some symbols in them as well. Didn't end up, none of this ended up sticking. I went back to it with a ruler later and just kind of went back, and this is one that ended up sticking. I quite like this as a background. It's just fantasy enough that looking like too much, like too storybooky. Because the other one reminded me a lot of the stuff in the artwork from Hogwarts Legacy. There's a lot of that checkered pattern in there. And again, just didn't end up liking it. It wasn't me. So I ended up redoing a bunch of it, and what I ended up with, I ended up liking. I started erasing the lines on the outside, and it's this like slightly like fantasy Art Deco pattern that I love. I love Art Deco. Like the entire aesthetic of that is awesome. We really need to go back to building stuff like that. Can we please? I'm so tired of these boring like concrete buildings that are everywhere. Like the architecture is so dull now. And here I actually managed to finish the shading. But it basically just went over it, did another like mask, and I kind of just did the most simple cell shading I could, and it's what ended up sticking. It worked, honestly. I did end up liking it, even though it's not. I have a more flair for the dramatic, and would have rather had that, quite frankly. But it works. I can't knock it. I felt like it was missing something, so I did end up going back in my own spare time and adding in some secondary lighting, and some round lighting, which I do think it makes it pop just a little bit more. And I am very happy and very proud of this project, honestly. Like I said, not much of a cartoonist, don't consider myself much of a cartoonist, but I'm quite proud of our little like mascot for the channel. But this is gonna be my profile picture for the time being. I might change it and come back, redo some stuff every year to something like every year to 6 months, maybe. I'll do a new version of Alfred, or maybe draw some more owl mascots for the channel. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was a blast of a project to work on. I hope this is the beginning of art videos back on the channel, probably sporadically. Main focus is more on gaming anyway, so there's a few other like smaller projects that I want to start as videos themselves, but those will come in time. They'll be done when they're done. But I do have a little question. If I was to maybe do maps of maybe every US state, how do you think I should do them? Should I do them as a piece in the silhouette of the shape, or should I do them as an actual map? Kind of like Tolkien-esque fantasy map. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards, but I'll have to figure that one out. I really want to get those done. That's something I've been wanting to start on for a long ass time, but I've kept you here rattling my stupid mouth for long enough. So I think I'm going to leave this one here. There's a couple of videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, comment, subscribe to all YouTube nonsense, and I really appreciate you watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye!